Hello, my love, and welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coach podcast with your host here, Michelle Hext. I have to say, I listened to last week's podcast on my walk and it was a bit all over the place, so I apologize for that. I don't know, my brain just wouldn't fire that day. Anyway, I hope you got something out of it. Today, actually, it's probably a byproduct of what I'm going to talk about today, too. I am talking today about when you feel stuck, when you feel like you can't move forward. That is often a sign that you need clarity. And just like all of you, I go through phases as well where I lack clarity. Usually it's a tweak, it's not a big thing anymore because I've been doing this for so long. But today I really want to talk about the importance of clarity and how this lack of clarity can keep you stuck. It can keep you feeling like you don't know what to do next. And when you don't know what to do next, or you've got too many choices, we can become overwhelmed and paralyzed, and we end up not being able to move forward at all. So I think the best way to describe this is just to share some behind the scenes about what's been happening for me over the last few weeks. I obviously have my high ticket mastermind, S.H.E Mastermind, which I love. I have my mastermind launch guide, which is the freebie. If you don't have that yet, go and get it. It is at michellehex.com/launch. It is a video masterclass with a workbook and a checklist. So if you want to move into high ticket group mentoring, then go get yourself that. You will love it. I know it's like 30 years of experienced condensed. Anyway, so I have those two things, and I had a funnel running that was download the masterclass or the launch guide, and then from there you were able to book a paid strategy call, and from that strategy call I then move people into my mastermind. And I was resisting it. I have to say, I have been preaching, I love doing discovery calls so much. These aren't discovery calls, these were strategy calls. And I just wasn't feeling the love for these strategy calls. And I felt like I want to do this without the strategy calls. So what can I move in place? It's not that strategy didn't work. I've picked up a number of private clients through those strategy calls, which I love. But my main priority right now is filling my mastermind or enrolling people into my mastermind. I'm never mad at private clients, but that the focus for 2025 is to bring my mastermind to capacity and keep it there. Anyway, so I was playing around with ideas. How else can I do this? And I wanted to be mindful of the fact that I have a highly leveraged business and I want to keep it that way. And doing the calls was at odds with that, right? So it's a great strategy, but not the strategy for me. And so I was racking my brains thinking, well, what can I put in there? And I also have a program that I've run many times called Launch Your $25,000 Mastermind in 4 weeks or less. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to run this program and use it as a feeder program because it's a perfect fit. Like it is the perfect fit, right? We've got the mastermind mastermind launch guide as the freebie, and I'm moving people into a mastermind product where my masterminders have masterminds. And I was looking at the people that have joined my mastermind over the last few years, and many of them have come through that process of going through my program, Launch Your $25,000 Mastermind in 4 weeks or less. And what I love about that program is it brings the right people in, because anyone who is ready to launch a mastermind or a high ticket group offer, they are my people. And so it's the perfect fit. But the other thing that I didn't want to do is keep launching. I didn't want to keep doing launches. And it's like, do I launch this 4 times a year? How do I do it? And I sat with it for a bit, and it's like, oh, well, I'll just launch it now and just, we'll see how it goes. I'll offer a short turnaround and, we'll start in 2 weeks or whatever. I have my early bird up and running, and there are a lot of people clicking. Nobody purchased during the early bird phase. And it was like, oh, what is happening? And so I was frustrated and really frustrated. And it's like, oh, it's such a good program. I'd played around with my pricing strategy, and the pricing strategy felt right. But in the back of my mind, it's like, it also feels a little bit high. And so that all played out. And then it was like, oh, how do I want this to be? And then I was just, I'd been journaling, and I was just laying on the bed, just having a moment of quiet, which is when the ideas come, right? And the idea came up. It's like, why don't you have a rolling start on that program like you do with the mastermind? And it's like, face palm, why didn't I think of this? And so I thought, yeah, this is a way to do it. Obviously, there are challenges around having a program that is always open, right? Because people just feel like they can, come in whenever they want, and that's fine. But there's no sense of urgency there, right? And so for me, it was like, when I'm moving people into my programs, what works for me? And I know that what works for me is incentive and urgency. Those two things work for me every time, all the time. It's how I sell people into my offers and keep them staying with me into the next offer. It's something that's worked for me for probably at least a decade now. And so I thought, okay, so how can I apply incentive and urgency to that funnel? And so I just sat down, I pulled out a sketch pad. I like to work my ideas on plain paper, really thick paper. I just love the tangibility of it. I grabbed my fountain pen and I mapped out the strategy. And it's like, okay, so what's the strategy? It's like the ads move people into the launch guide. My ads are running beautifully right now. Lead cost is very, very good. Like, it's getting ready to scale now. I just want to add a few more graphics in there. I've only got one right now and it's converting very well, but just want to have a little bit of a play. And so my ads are working very, very well. Then I'm going to move people obviously from the ad into the launch guide, and the launch guide will do its job. And then from there is going to be an incentive and a countdown timer that creates a sense of urgency around the purchase. It's not like you've got to purchase in 15 minutes. It's like 3 full days, 72 hours. And that means people can make a really considered decision. And I know that in hand with my masterclass that I'm very, very happy with, that masterclass is doing so much of the heavy lifting. And then the offer is there to join the group program, which is a rolling start. And then I know that when people come into that program, they are the right people. They're amazing. And some people will get what they need in that 4 weeks. And then some others will want to move into the mastermind, which will be amazing as well. And suddenly it all just clicked into place. And it's like, that was the piece that was missing. Forcing myself to do launches again when I don't want to do launches, and instead create a rolling start. So everything is now set up in my system. I have a system that I use where I deliver my mastermind. I'm using the same platform for that. So everything is set up there. Everything is automated within there. The live calls are all scheduled in there, and it just feels so good. And so there was just this missing piece that hadn't dropped. And over especially the last week, I would say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was climbing out of my skin because I was feeling like my brain couldn't find the path forward, and I wanted to solve the problem. And solving the problem was feeling very challenging, and I was annoyed at myself, and I was doing all the things: go for a walk, go to the gym, do, journal, quiet my mind, all the things. And I'd been doing that, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just wasn't landing. And it's like, just walk away, don't think about it. And then I woke up or went to bed, And the idea popped in my brain. It was just that simple question, why don't you make that a rolling start as well? And it was like suddenly everything fell into place. Now, rolling starts don't work well for everybody. They really don't. So I'm not suggesting everybody does that, but it has always worked really well for me. So now I have this beautiful strategy. But while I was at it, when I had my pen and paper, it's like, okay, let's just get this down on one page. And so I started to work through what is my offer strategy, and it was all there. So we have my free masterclass, then we have the 4-week launch your $25,000 mastermind in 4 weeks or less. That's a 4-week program. And then we have the mastermind. And then after that, we have the advisory, which is my inner circle. And that is it. That's my offer suite. And it feels amazing and very, very clear. I like simplicity, and if it's simple and clear and it feels aligned, then I know I can't go wrong. And so that was one piece of the puzzle. And then the next piece of the puzzle was, okay, so what is my sales strategy here? And that was the strategy that I just spoke about. And so people will come through the funnel and then they will watch the masterclass, and there's an incentive for them to join within 3 days. And if they don't join in those 3 days, then they miss out. And then, some people will join, others won't, right? That same program is for sale on my website at a higher rate, right? And so there is incentive there. If they go and have a look on my website, they're going to see the cost of the program is significantly higher. They're saving something like $1,500. And the other thing that they're saving is tax, because the way this system is set up, it won't let me apply tax. Whereas the way that I'm selling it, the way that I was selling it previously, it was plus tax, which is fine. But it's like, it's okay. That's another thing that people are going to be excited about, that they're not just, this extra chunk of money added to it. Hang on, need a drink. And so, and I know that when people move into that 4-week program, it's a beautiful container. I help them create the offer. I help them to create the strategy for enrolling clients. They're enrolling clients during the 4 weeks. So it's not just theory. It's not just, here's your plan of attack, now go get it. We're actually doing that in the program. So they're having these wins. They're moving people into their mastermind. And then it becomes a very easy no-brainer for the right people to continue on with me inside the mastermind. And again, I offer people incentive, and I offer them create urgency around that offer. And that's how they, I help them to say yes by putting this positive pressure on them. Obviously, not everybody's going to say yes, and not everybody has to say yes. And I don't want everybody to say yes. But, the right people are going to use that as an opportunity to say yes, to save some money, or to be credited a portion of their payment from the 4-week program, and then we move on. So my sales strategy is very simple, and it's very, very clear. It's worked for me for decades. And I guess I just never really articulated it as simply as I did on this piece of paper. And then we get to this, messaging component. And it's like, recently I've been called to just produce more content. And oh my God, I went with it for a week. It's like, I just feel like I want to do more. I want to do more content. And then I'm having this sinking feeling as I'm getting towards the end of the week going, no. This is how we used to do it. This is not how we do it anymore. And also, like, this is what you have been working towards removing yourself from over the last 12 months. So why are we doing this? Why are we creating more content? Why are we feeling like we need to just churn out content again? And it's like, okay, I just felt like I needed to do something to create a shift. And when I'm in action, I feel so much better. But the reality is, like, it wasn't required. And it's not like the revenue's a problem because those private sales come through, right? So plus I have my mastermind. I have recurring monthly revenue that is generated through my mastermind. The 4-week program that is now an evergreen as well, that will now stack my monthly recurring revenue as well. That product, that piece in the middle between the free launch guide and the mastermind, it still had to be high ticket. It couldn't be a $97 offer. So this is a complete high ticket funnel that just feels amazing. No sales calls, no launching, just ongoing beautifulness. Anyway, so I'm looking at the messaging and it's like, okay, so now's an opportunity to get really clear about how I want to continue to show up online. What does that look like? What does it look like? And so I've had this wrestle between wanting to lead powerfully and share my message and really put myself out there with my desire for. I've got a client in my mastermind at the moment, and her word for the year is privacy, and I love that for her. It doesn't feel like privacy for me, but it feels like the opposite of what I was doing. It feels like there's just an energy, a different energy when you're spewing out content every day for content's sake. Not that I was doing that, but it's just a different energy. And it's like, so it's like content or not content is not the problem. And even, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but even in my mastermind, I was justifying it. I was speaking to the ladies in the mastermind. It's like, there are things that I have like strict boundaries around and frameworks around. And then like they are the musts and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and then I want to give myself a little bit of freedom. So I want to give myself freedom with the content. And it's like, I can convince myself of freaking anything. We all can, right? We can all convince ourselves, oh yeah, that's very justified. Yeah, that makes so much sense. You should do that. But I did have that sinking feeling, and it's like, this is the old way. This is not how we're doing it anymore. And so it wasn't just a matter of discipline. It wasn't just a matter of, we'll just stop doing it. It's like, well, why am I not doing it? Like, what is missing here? What am I missing that's making it still easy for me to default and go back to lots of content? And I had to really be honest with myself. And it's like, okay, so I am not leading the way that I want to lead. I'm teaching, I'm educating, and that's great, but that's not a leader's role. My job is to help you see what you couldn't see before. My job is to help show you what is possible. My job is to share with you insights and the odd strategy here and there about how things can be different and what gets to be different, and not to teach you the step-by-steps of things. That's not my job. It's comfortable. I know how to do it. It's a great way to stay on the treadmill of churning out content, but that's not who I want to be. So it was like, okay, so if I don't want to do that, what do I want instead? And so I started to develop my boundaries around not content, not how much content or anything like that, but it's more about, who am I? How am I showing up online? And I'm going to share that with you. Give me a sec. Okay, so I started to play around with like my voice and my positioning and signature post styles, things like that. And this is the stuff that was coming up. It was all about quiet authority. And it landed for me. And it's like, authority, yes. Leadership, yes. All of the things, but it's like, but it needs to speak volumes. What I post needs to speak volumes, and it doesn't need to be a lot. And so it's things like certainty over explanation. So speaking in conclusions and not questions. It's being this absolutely certain leader that speaks about outcomes and concepts, not the how, right? And discernment over the masses. And so I know that I don't sell to everyone. I know that I attract the right people to me, the one percenters. And I've spoken about this before, and this was becoming clear to me over the last few months, and then I just went rogue. But it's like I'm speaking to the 1%. I'm not speaking to everybody. I'm speaking to the 1%. And so really dialing that in. And then this substance over volume, and knowing that when I post, it's about depth and nuance and results, and it's going to beat the algorithm crap, like the clever hooks and the fluffy stuff. Like, I'm not interested in that. And then it's this stillness over, I guess, scramble, we want to call it. And knowing that my brand is a brand that doesn't chase attention, it holds space with strength and potency. And also, this one has been a problem for me over the years. It's like sometimes I feel like I'm performing for the internet and it pisses me off. So it's like having presence over performance. I'm visible because I'm a leader. I'm not an entertainer. So I'm not going to be dancing. I'm not going to be chasing the algorithm. I'm not going to be posting certain formats because the internet demands that of me, or the algorithm demands that of me. And so this is not how I like to do things. And so it's just this getting clear around what is my, I guess, voice, and what is my kind of positioning, and then what do my signature posts look like? And so we're focused on low volume, high potency, short, sharp, unapologetic, and saying what I really mean in the shortest way possible with my posting and things like that. And so I sat there and I looked at my content strategy and my signature communication style, and it all fell into place again. It's like, okay, so the missing link, the thing that I've been missing, is I am still wanting to be a teacher when I'm called to be a leader. And I've been wrestling with that. Like, it's something that I definitely have wrestled with. And it's so wild because I've been thinking about this a lot over the last few weeks. And I think about something that really is important in my life, or has been important in my life. It's like, well, you've been a leader your whole life. And remember back to the Taekwondo days, and it got me thinking, as a Taekwondo head instructor, and even before I was a head instructor, my job was to lead. I led the class, I led the school. I was team trainer for our black belt state squad at one point. And I'm a Hall of Fame inductee into the Australasian Martial Arts Hall of Fame for my contribution to women in martial arts. In that space, I was very much a leader, and I embraced every second of it. Absolutely embraced it. It was who I was. I didn't question it, didn't think about how to be a leader. I just knew how to lead in that space because it was just who I was. It was so automatic for me just to be the way that I needed to be because it was who I was. And so I guess I have grappled a little bit with that role online, and I'm trying to think of why that is. And I came up with, well, it's not as clear and defined as it is running a Taekwondo club school. You know what I mean? It's not as clear and defined. And I like clarity. I like definition. And that is what had been lacking for me. And so it's going to take me a minute, right? It's going to take me a minute to stop wanting to teach everybody everything in my posts and to shift into that style of voice. And it's really weird because it's probably not even visibly noticeable to people, but the energy shift is going to be tangible because I feel different. I feel like it's time to show up differently. And so I caught myself before I went into that wild wild west of just creating a lot of content again and like smashing the internet with all of the wisdom. And it's like, no, 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 no. This is not how we're doing it. And so I'm feeling really proud of myself because I was disciplined. I had the awareness to stop because I've got so much skin in the game right now with the business model that I have and the way that I'm running things, the results that I'm getting. You've heard me say I'm doing the best work of my life right now. But there was something that was a couple of little things that needed a tweak. And it's taken a while for them to drop, but they've dropped. And that's the other thing, right? We can't force things. And it's the journey, right? And, you know, I hate the word journey. I think we all hate the word journey. It's been overused, but it's kind of the journey, right? Where we have these moments where we just need to take the time we need. It doesn't mean that we stop. It doesn't mean that we don't keep moving in the direction. I've been moving in the direction for the entire year. It's just that something is like, oh, it's not dropped yet. And that's the thing, right? We need to move for that clarity to evolve and eventually drop. We can't do it from a standing start. If I was still sitting around waiting for this to drop from January to now, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I had to do the work. I had to start moving. I had to start moving forward again as I changed my whole business model, start moving again, moving again, moving again. And knowing that the momentum that I was creating was also going to bring clarity where it was required. And, you know, the thing when you're moving and you've got a really good plan is there's a lot of clarity anyway, and it's just the small things. I speak about this quite regularly with, you know, in conversations, I guess. We all know the story of the princess in the pea, right? Where in this fable, I guess we call it, they find this girl and she says she's a princess, and there's this test apparently where you put a pea under a mattress, and if she's really a princess, you're going to feel the pea under the mattress. And so they put the pea under one mattress, and she's like, oh, there's a pea under my mattress. I don't know if that's exactly what she said, but you get the point. And then they keep stacking mattresses. And I can still remember reading this storybook when I was a little kid. And I remember the image of this bed with all of there's like 100 mattresses stacked on top of each other. And she's like, I can still feel the pea. And it's like, that is me with my business. That is me with anything that isn't aligned in my life. It's like, I feel the freaking pea. And it feels like I've just my brain just will not stop scanning the universe, scanning the world, scanning, looking for the solution. Like, how do I fix this? What is the problem? How do I fix it? Where is it not right? And my brain just doesn't stop. It doesn't rest until I find it. And I found it. So I'm feeling very calm. And as I say, it's not to say that there hasn't been clarity. There's been absolute clarity, but there's just been a couple of pieces that have felt like, you know, when you run your hand over something beautiful and smooth and there's something that like catches your skin, it's like sticking up a little bit. It's like, oh, what is this? What is this bit? And so, yeah, and that's what I've done, and I'm feeling amazing. But I was feeling stuck, and the stuckness was due to a lack of clarity. It's like I had the end game, I had the part at the beginning, and the middle bit had just felt a little bit messy. But things have been dropping into place so much over the course of May, you know, even looking at I made a really strong commitment to my email list. I have an email list. My open rates are between like 48 to 62%, so it's high. But the link clicks weren't great. It's like, is this broken? Is there something wrong with this? And then I just went, okay, well, that's my fault. I've got to do something to make people click. Like, if I want them to click, that's my responsibility. I've got to figure out what's going on. And so I have been, you know, making some changes there, and the clicks are up. And it's like, awesome. And now I have list growth strategies. I have list activation strategies. I've got something very exciting coming up in June that landed for me over the weekend as well. And suddenly everything feels clear. Suddenly it's like the handbrake is off and we're motoring again. And that's just the power of clarity. And I am able to gain that clarity myself. And even when I was feeling really frustrated and pissed off and stuck, I feel it in my body. I feel it in my chest. I just feel it everywhere. And then I was just thinking, oh, yeah, I know this feeling. This means the breakthrough's coming. And it was there. It was like, oh, expect the breakthrough because it's coming. This is what it feels like when I'm close to the breakthrough. And yeah, I know these signs. I've been doing it for such a long time. Not everybody can get that clarity on their own. So if you need help getting that clarity, then you know what to do. Get in touch. But for now, I just want to remind you that if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling confused, you're just lacking clarity and you need to figure out what that is. First thing is you've got to diagnose where you need clarity, because a lot of the time people will tell me, I have no clarity around anything, and I'll start questioning them. And it's like, well, you're clear about that, and you're clear about that, and you're clear about that, and you're actually clear about that. You're just not clear about this thing. And they're like, oh, yeah, it is just that thing. And so sometimes you feel you're stuck everywhere. You feel like you're unclear everywhere, but you're not. You just can't see how to pull it all together. So focus on that. Focus on, like, where do you need clarity, and then what do you need to do to get clarity? What would the solution look like? What would it look like on the other side of clarity? And just make that your true north and head that way. All right, before I go, I should remind you that if you haven't downloaded my free mastermind launch guide, now's the time to get it. michellehext.com/launch. Go get it. Also, I am on Instagram, so feel free to come and drop me a message. If you've got anything you want to share with me, if you have questions about any of my programs, make sure that you DM me and we can have a chat. But I want to leave you with this. Stuckness is code for I need clarity. It's definitely true for me. It's always true for my clients, and it's going to be true for you. The antidote to you being stuck is gaining clarity. So download the guide. That might help you get there. All right, that's it. I'll see you next week.